Hello friends, this video on organisms and population part 11 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So the question that arises in everyone's mind is, how do organisms adapt? So we have spoken about so many parameters. We talked about temperature, we talked about water, we talked about light, we talked about the soil. So everywhere we saw that different types of organisms have different needs. Now the question is how these organisms adapt or how they adjust themselves in different environments. So let's talk about ourselves. What do we do during winter season and how do we manage during the summers? Now, the temperature outside during winter and summer are like very different from each other. So it doesn't happen that we are not able to survive during winters, or it becomes extremely difficult for us to breathe during summer. So we are able to survive during both the seasons. So how do we adjust from our end? So when it is winter season, we try wearing warm clothes, we wear sweaters, jackets to keep ourselves warm. Similarly, when it is summer season, we try to wear light colored clothes, we try to wear not too many clothes, so cotton soft clothes are preferred during summer. So we do our bit, we do adjustments from our side so that we are able to adapt to the present climatic conditions. Now this was a very common example where where I just showed that how we adjust with the changing climate. Now different organisms have different mechanisms to adapt to environment. So this is where we talk about an important concept called homeostasis. So what is homeostasis? It is about maintaining a constant internal environment in an organism. Now the external conditions would always change, like the temperature outside might increase, the temperature outside might decrease, there might be rainfall, the weather might become dry. So there might be changes in the external environment. But the question is how an organism adapt to it. Either the temperature and the conditions of the organism also changes with the external conditions, or the organism has a mechanism wherein it is able to maintain a constant internal environment irrespective of the changes in the external environment. So these are the only two possibilities. So when we talk about homeostasis, we talk about that possibility in which a constant internal environment is maintained. Doesn't matter whether the temperature outside is changing from 50 degrees Celsius to 0 degrees Celsius, but the internal temperature of the organism is kind of maintained at nearly a constant value. So that's the concept of homeostasis. So let us think of some examples of homeostasis which we can associate with ourselves. So what happens during extremely cold weather? What do we do? Now, have you ever seen, okay, we wear warm clothes, we wear sweaters, so all those are fine. But what happens to our body when the weather is very, very cold? So we tend to shiver. And what happens when we shiver? We shiver, so we kind of feel warm when we shiver. It's like working out. When we work out, we tend to feel warmth. We also get goosebumps all over our body. So those goosebumps also help us to, kind of adjust to the cold environment. So the entire goosebumps on our body surface, it forms a layer of insulation to our body and gives us warmth. So that way, shivering, goosebumps, they provide us warmth during cold weather. Now, on the contrary, what happens during a hot, sunny summer day? What happens to us? Do we shiver? No. Do we have goosebumps? No. Then what happens? We tend to sweat a lot. And what happens when we sweat? So when we sweat, there are water droplets on the surface of our body, and those water droplets tend to keep our body cool. And that's how we tend to keep ourselves cool on a hot, sunny day. So in both these examples, you see, forget about the external efforts that we put by wearing heavy or light clothes. the body itself has a natural process of maintaining an internal environment. Now, maybe the external temperature during a winter season could be around 5 degrees Celsius. During summer season, it could be around 40-50 degrees Celsius. But the temperature of our body still remains in the range of 35 to 40 degrees Celsius. So, and that is irrespective of the external temperature. So, how do we maintain that? We maintain that with the mechanisms which are present within our body. And that is an example of homeostasis. Now, homeostasis is not only about maintaining the body temperature, it talks about the entire internal environment, which includes temperature. So, temperature is just one parameter. So, think of another example. Now, immediately after eating, if you ever go for a blood test, you would see that immediately after you eat something, the blood sugar level inside the body increases. So, what needs to be done? Now, we cannot let the blood sugar level increase inside our body because that can turn fatal. So, what happens inside our body? Now, inside the body, the mechanism is set in such a way that as soon as you eat, your blood sugar level increases, but at the same time, the gland pancreas is going to release insulin, whose job is to reduce the sugar level. And as soon as insulin is released, the sugar level would drop. So, this mechanism is already set. It is a natural mechanism which is set inside our body. So, this is again an example of homeostasis. So, a lot of examples like this exist where we see that homeostasis play a very important role in order to maintain a constant internal environment. So, here we talked about two things. One is maintaining a constant internal temperature irrespective of changes in temperature outside. The second was maintaining a nearly constant blood sugar level inside our body irrespective of whether we are eating something which is rich in sugar or we are not eating. So, every time the blood sugar level has to be maintained at the right value. So, let us talk about temperature of our body. So, as I was discussing, if you measure the temperature of your body, now the normal body temperature for human beings is 37 degrees Celsius. Now, when we have fever or when we are not well, this temperature might vary 1 or 2 degrees here and there, but otherwise this is the normal body temperature. Now, have you ever observed that if you keep a hot water bag in contact with your body, sometimes when you have pain in any part of your body, you tend to use this hot water bag. So, you fill this water bag with boiled water. So, obviously it must be having a very high temperature. Now, when you bring this bag in contact with your body and you keep it in contact with your body for, say, quite some time, after that, you again measure the temperature of your body using the thermometer. What do you see? Do you see that the temperature of your body has become 100 degrees Celsius from 37? No, not really. Why does that happen? That's because even though the external temperature has changed, but the internal mechanism of your body is still maintaining a more or less constant temperature. So the temperature of your body would still be in the range of 37-38 degrees Celsius. Similarly, if you are in contact with an ice pack, which is very cold, very, very cold. But after that, the temperature inside your body doesn't drop to such a low value. So these are examples of homeostasis. And if you want, you can carry these kind of experiments yourself at your home, and you can observe all these important things which tell you that homeostasis is working inside our body all the time. Now, the important point here is, now I have been talking about human beings all this while since I started discussing homeostasis. But that doesn't mean that all living organisms can adapt in similar ways. So homeostasis doesn't happen in all types of organisms. So not all of them can adapt in similar ways. So there are different ways by which different organisms regulate. One way is to regulate, that is to control. Other way is to conform, one way is to migrate, and another way is to suspend. So these are the 4 different ways by which different living organisms adapt to changing external environment. So we will talk about each of these ways in more detail now. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more educational videos with a better experience. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for latest updates. Thank you once again.